Assassin's Creed 3 is in a frustrating position of trying to do revolutionary things with plot and gameplay, even as it is beholden to its predecessors. The game is both baffling and bold, pushing the series in great new directions as it tries to stay faithful to its past. I'm holding these truths to be self-evident when I complete Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered Edition. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of The Completionist, where we don't just beat the games, we complete them. Kinda quarantine style nowadays. This week, we just got the premiere debut trailer for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and that has nothing to do with today's video. It just so happens that today's video is on Assassin's Creed. Today, I'll be stepping to my own personal animus to relive the memories of my ancestors who completed Assassin's Creed 3. Okay, I lied, I don't have an animus, and even if I did, it'd be impossible to go back in time to play this game and complete it, because this game came out almost 10 years ago. I feel old saying that. Let's begin.
Here comes a new challenger! Yes! Danger!
Assassin's Creed 3 is certainly an Assassin's Creed sequel, with all the baggage that entails. To me, the most striking thing about this game is its historical setting. Even though I've played several other titles in this franchise, the Revolutionary War era setting was more than enough to get me incredibly hyped for playing yet another Assassin's Creed. See, Assassin's Creed as a concept has always held great promise. I've always loved exploring historical locations and murdering great figures of the past. In real talk, I've been wanting to see this franchise's take on the Revolutionary War since the very first game came out. So I was hyped as hell to finally play Assassin's Creed 3, even though I'm just now getting around to it. The series' hallmark parkour and free-running stuff has always felt tight, and nothing compares to the signature hidden blade assassination techniques. This entry in the series also added some awesome naval combat because, why the hell not? Up until recent installments, Assassin's Creed has always played with the dual storyline with varying degrees of success. And maybe it's because I haven't played one of these ones in a while, but it took me a minute to get adjusted to the insanity that is the opening of Assassin's Creed 3. For the uninitiated, a ragtag group of nerds led by perpetual bummer Desmond Miles are trying to prevent the apocalypse by communing with ancient aliens and unlocking doors in a cave with big glowing softballs. But what the game is really about is an 18th century half-Mohawk man named Right.
Well, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that.
Connor. His name is Connor, as he learns to deal with his complicated family legacy and his place in the rapidly changing colonies. Even die-hard fans can admit the story of any given Assassin's Creed game is bonkers. This particular one is also pretty much the last entry in the series that really gave a damn about pushing the modern narrative. Desmond has had some interesting character stuff going on, but he unfortunately suffers from appearing in the most boring parts of this game, and from being boring in general. Sorry, Desmond. Connor is the real star of the show, but players don't even meet him until hours into the experience. This is a startling bait and switch, the first of many I encountered in my playthrough of this game. Remasters are the perfect vessels for me to play games for the show. Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered collects the base game, the blasphemous sounding Tyranny of King Washington DLC, and the PS Vita spin-off game Assassin's Creed Liberation into one big package that I played on my Xbox One. It's Assassin's Creed, so I know more or less what to expect at this point. Dozens of collectibles, several main chapters with optional objectives to complete the progress throughout the story, with the goal being full synchronization with every mission. Now at this point, I have dealt with these types of challenges before, and chasing after them again feels comforting. This game caught a lot of flack when it first came out, and it's easy to see why. The Ezio trilogy did such an incredible job of fleshing out a super charismatic yet layered character, and Connor doesn't have that immediate raw charm. And from the way it was marketed, I kind of expected full-scale battles with a ton of combat options. That isn't really what happened here. Instead, I was stuck playing as a completely different character than the guy in the cover art for a way longer period of time than expected, doing more or less the same stuff they had done in the 4 previous mainline Assassin's Creed games. And not to pile on, but that's basically where I landed too. Because as much as this game is the ultimate early America simulator, I was utterly baffled by some of the choices made by Assassin's Creed 3. There are few things more disappointing than underused potential. That's why I talk so often in my videos about what I wished would have happened in games that I feel fall short. What I find fascinating for Assassin's Creed 3 in particular is that this game falls short a lot. You'd think a game with 4 mainline titles and 4 spin-offs preceding it would have figured out some stuff, but no. Assassin's Creed 3 makes some baffling design decisions that waste the potential of its setting. Up until the release of this game, there was a ton of speculation of where the series would go next. Jerusalem and Damascus in the first game were gorgeous proofs of concept. Renaissance Italy in Assassin's Creed 2 felt lively, and even Constantinople felt unique and full of depth. 3 moves the Animus timeline up a few hundred years to the 18th century, but I think the locations of Boston, New York, and the frontier don't push the series forward as much as they could. Obviously, I'm not trying to disparage any of the hundreds of designers at Ubisoft who worked to make these places look and feel historically accurate. They really do. This is easily the most accurate late 1700s Boston that has ever existed in a video game, muddy streets and all. But that doesn't make it any more fun to run around the city. The big empty fields, the buildings that never seem to be more than 3 stories tall, the way Matt Damon's ancestors keep interrupting me at every single turn. No, I don't like them apples. New York fares a little better, and it's clear the city was a prototype for some of the concepts that became more fleshed out for the more modern cities in Assassin's Creed Rogue, Unity, and Syndicate. The cities have their merits, but it feels like a step backwards to go from area designs that worked very well in Brotherhood and Revelations to this. Climbing up little white churches and jumping into piles of garbage feels a lot less epic than leaping off an ancient building into a hay cart. It's a little more split on the frontier. It's less a specific location and more of a concept to evoke the idea of a boundless wilderness. And maybe in 2012, it felt that way. But in this remaster, it feels kind of constricted and bare. The frontier should feel incredibly dangerous, wild, and free. But overall, I found it kind of a letdown. Except for the grizzly bears, which you can bait into eating your enemies if you're careful. Now that's pretty awesome. At first brush, the character struck me as wasted potential too. I hate to say it, but the character models themselves are pretty ugly. Again, I know they're working off of a game from several years back, but nobody comes close to the detailed and gorgeous outfits and characters from the Ezio trilogy. And Ben Franklin is no Leonardo da Vinci, if you know what I mean. But the real heart of the matter is that I was excited to play as rad Mohawk character Connor, and I didn't get to do that for something like 3 or 4 hours. Yeah, the guy on the cover, cool dude with the tomahawk and animal furs. It takes an interminable amount of time to play as him. And when he finally shows up, it's him as a child with yet another tutorial section where I played a worse version of the hide and seek tutorial of Majora's Mask. And after that, it's Connor as a teen who is worse. Connor eventually turned out to be a pretty compelling character. It just took ages to get there. Now, I get that Connor doesn't have the luxury of being built up as strongly as Ezio, but to me, all the time spent in the beginning with Desmond and Haytham Kenway feels like a waste of any potential goodwill players might have towards Connor. His demeanor isn't as immediately as engaging as the conniving yet charming Haytham from the first part of the game. I really feel like I had the rug pulled out from under me. And the less said about Desmond, the better. I get that being positive is kind of my big thing on the internet, but oh my god, Desmond is the absolute worst by the end of this game. And no spoilers, but by the end of the game, it feels like even the people who made Assassin's Creed 3 would agree that Desmond is a bit of a weak link here. And he's been voiced by Nolan North this whole time. How do you fuck that up? I mentioned how long it takes to get to the main character, but this game even feels like it takes a long time to get even to the good gameplay. I have played hundreds of hours worth of Assassin's Creed games at this point. This one has the slowest opening. Everything feels like a tutorial until Connor is actually trained in the ways of the assassins, which takes way longer than you might think. I think that's my major issue with a lot of this game. There is a lot of gristle on what is an otherwise enjoyable steak. Let's take the fast travel system for instance. In Assassin's Creed 3, both Boston and New York have underground sections that are in the middle of being built. By exploring these dark maze-like areas fully with a little lantern, Connor can unlock fast travel points. However, it takes forever to navigate these areas. Because they're technically indoor locations, Connor can't run. And when Connor can't run, he walks as slowly and carefully as a teenager trying to sneak out of an extremely strict household at night. These tunnels could have been such a cool addition, but instead, they feel like an annoying chore. And I was left feeling not mad, just disappointed. These areas took so long to move through that I didn't even bother completing them until the very end of the game. It was so annoying that I decided I would rather just move through the landscape on a horse or just free run my way through everything instead of going through the hassle of the underground. I noticed a lot of moments like this when I was completing this game. At least in the first few hours, it felt like I was running into an annoying cutscene every 2 minutes. I'd walk 5 steps, have a character tell me to meet them somewhere else, go to the other location, have another cutscene where they explain what the heck is going on, and so on. All the damn time. Any momentum that could have been built up right now has been throttled. Maybe I came in with the wrong expectations here, but I was expecting crackling tension from every corner of this world, as this era of history was basically a powder keg waiting to explode. The constant stopping and starting really takes away from that. And yet, I couldn't put this game down. Even with all this nitpicking, Assassin's Creed 3 still stands out. It's maybe the dark horse of the series and one that's the last of its kind. When it's good, it's so good. It just takes a while to get there. It's like America. Parts of it might be ill thought out, janky, and just plain broken, but it's also that nostalgic feeling of home. And I was compelled to grind it out and earn a place for myself. Just because this game has a slow start doesn't mean I want to throw out the proverbial baby with the bathwater. When Assassin's Creed 3 fulfills the promise of its setting and puts forth its own new ideas, it becomes the boldest game in the franchise. By cherry-picking certain moments from history to recreate, this game was able to meet and even exceed my expectations. And when the game chooses to deviate from history to tell its own subversive story, it becomes even more compelling. Because I was raised learning about the founding of the USA, everything about this game's plot twists and turns became way more awesome. I felt I had a kind of insidery behind-the-scenes knowledge that felt oddly satisfying. And growing up with social studies gave the plot developments an extra layer of intrigue that I am very curious to know how they land to people who aren't as familiar with American history. I love that Assassin's Creed 3 makes a big deal out of stuff that was like a paragraph or two in your average middle school textbook. Paul Revere's Midnight Ride? I loved playing through that. How about the dang Boston Tea Party? Connor's tomahawk isn't just for cutting throats, it's also for smashing up boxes to dump into the harbor. I got to pal around with Samuel Adams and see the aftermath of the Great Fire of 1776 in New York. The creators of this game made an effort to work in pubs and churches that might have existed at the time to make the areas feel even more authentic. There's a bit early on where Connor finds himself in a town square trying to track down his nefarious father. As the crowd grew agitated and restless, I started to wonder what was going on, and then I realized, oh shoot, this is about to turn into the Boston Massacre, and that felt chilling and incredible. Now, obviously, I know that America wasn't founded by a secret Templar order whose ultimate goal was to find the ones who came before, but that's still neat to virtually reenact stuff that I've ever only read about or seen in The Patriot. It feels like a bold move for a French company like Ubisoft to take well-known historical figures and events and twist them. Later games in the Assassin's Creed series have kind of introduced a tourist mode, and I really wish it had been implemented into this remaster. History is always written not just by the victors, but by the most privileged members of society. The more I completed in Assassin's Creed 3, the more I appreciated that this game uses Connor as a lens through which to view the world. Frankly, Connor seemed boring to me at first. By the time the game finally put me in control of Connor, I felt like I was losing something. But the more I completed, the more I appreciated his character and the strong choices made around his identity. I'm actually glad this game put me in the shoes of someone I never would have expected to play. Connor's mentor Achilles is a retired assassin and a black man. He basically tells Connor, hey, you probably can pass as Italian or Spanish, let's just go with that because white people are going to treat you better than if they know you're a native. I was not expecting this game to go there at all, and it's better for it. Connor sees America's flaws and all, and as I completed Homestead side quests, I understood better how he wanted to view the world. Now, the Homestead is an odd fixture in this game. Over the course of this game, I completed 37 Homestead side quests, with the ultimate goal being to set up and maintain a little assassin utopia. It isn't based on anything specific from history, but it's a deviation that totally works in this game's favor. Gameplay-wise, the Homestead is part fetch quests and part The Sims, and it is both fascinating and boring. When it works, it helps flesh out the America that Connor would love to see. but at worst, I was following around specific NPCs for entire in-game days, hoping to God they would do 1 or 2 specific actions so I could cross this mission off my list. The biggest and best change to the Assassin's Creed formula is the addition of naval combat. It might feel a little bit out of left field, but it totally works. People loved the ship sections in this game, so much so that Assassin's Creed 4 was practically designed around them. It just feels fun to line up cannon fire and blast other ships to smithereens. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that every game can be improved by adding pirate ships and cannonballs. Zelda did it. Maybe the next GTA will too. Naval combat was a big deal in the Revolutionary War, and it was exciting to get a glimpse of that world. I loved the privateer contracts and naval missions so much that I saved them for last. I wanted to stretch out these sections as long as I could because of the way they completely changed up the usual formula of sneaking and stabbing. Assassin's Creed 3 was probably the series' most action-focused entry to date, and the naval combat was a gamble that worked out really well for the future of the franchise. And then there's the completely wild Tyranny of King Washington DLC. This small pack of content is like an experiment to see how far the base game of Assassin's Creed 3 can be pushed. It feels like several pitch meetings happened where people just said yes to stuff, and it's great. The way this game picks the inflection points in history and just goes to town with what could happen is amazing. When the magical powers started showing up, I was strangely all in. We're talking spectral wolf powers, anamorphing into an eagle power, and Hulk smash aka bear powers. Any pretense of historical fidelity is put on the firing line and shot dead. And I know this contradicts what people like about older Assassin's Creed games since the magic powers are so far out of left field. But it is undeniably fun, and I couldn't get NWO's Wolfpack theme out of my head anytime I went into wolf mode. This short, sweet DLC is an alternate history of America, and it's a great addition to the Remastered collection. I really appreciated that you don't even have to do anything to unlock it either. It's available from the main menu and has its own set of objectives to complete. To me, it's the best and boldest way to do DLC. The Tyranny of King Washington is Assassin's Creed 3's Far Cry Blood Dragon, and the game is far better for it. Despite some of the slower paced sections, this might be the most completionist-friendly Assassin's Creed game I've played for the show yet. Earning full synchronization in every mission was a breeze overall, and since there are maps that detail where every collectible is, things were made even easier. Mainly, completing this game is an exercise in patience. But unless you're a die-hard Assassin's Creed fan, that patience is unfortunately not rewarded. Now, I did my best to hit every optional objective and hit full synchronization on my first pass-through on every mission. This made the game a little more challenging, but since there aren't different difficulty modes to contend with, I didn't mind the added steps. The reward for achieving full sync isn't anything super exciting unless you're a die-hard fan of the franchise. I earned Altair's outfit from the first game, and it's a cool throwback, but a white robe with the hood is still a white robe with the hood. It makes no difference to how I played the game. In fact, outfits seem to be the only real substantial thing to unlock in this game. Finish all 37 Homestead missions? Achilles' original outfit. Find every feather by climbing what feels like every tree in the frontier and beyond? Another outfit. There's even a pirate outfit to be unlocked, which, hell yeah, but still didn't feel super satisfying after liberating all of Boston and New York and essentially helping to build the USA. Maybe Washington gave Connor the first ever Presidential Medal of Freedom or something down the line? I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I don't mind the unlockables being outfits, but the least this game could do for me is give me a skin that's just an American flag tank top and jean shorts. Instead of the amazingly stylish coats and hoods of the assassins, give me the tackiest, most over-the-top costume imaginable. Make it so ostentatious and cringy that other characters don't even want to look at you. Become invisible. Assassinate whoever you want. I also unlocked a bunch of mementos, including engraved plates, banners, and newspapers, which again, have no impact on the gameplay and are simply in-game trophies proving that I did the thing. Not very exciting. I know I did the thing, I was there, but it's an in-game acknowledgement instead of just a check mark on a trophy list. At least I'll give them that. When I completed Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered, there were 1,292 total enemies killed. Some of these were historical figures, most were just cannon fodder. 46 hours of total playtime, most of the time spent in the main game, but a good 8 to 10 hours spent in that DLC. 54 achievements earned, and if I'm missing some gamer score, it's because it's tied to Assassin's Creed Liberation, and I'm not completing an entire other spin-off title for no reason. Unless you guys want me to, in which case, bring it on. And one would-be king assassinated, because this is America, and we prefer our tyrants to be put in power through the Electoral College, goddammit! Assassin's Creed 3 almost squanders all of its potential with the strange pacing of its early bits, but I think it redeems itself once the Connor stuff gets rolling, even if it does take a while to get up to speed. At the end of the day, it's still Assassin's Creed, and if you're a fan of the games that came before this one but never got around to Assassin's Creed 3, this remaster is a great place to dive in. The environments may not be as immediately exciting as ancient Egypt or Greece, but it still feels awesome to wander around stuff I've read in history books. And the DLC is a true what-if scenario, giving me the chance to wield magic powers in a quest to stop a good man turned tyrant. But all that being said, I have played a lot of games like this one, and completing it didn't net me anything super satisfying. If you skipped this game, it's definitely worth a try, even though I wish there was more rewards towards the end. So, with that in mind guys, I give this game my completionist rating of play it.